Hey everyone, welcome back. It's me, Only Run Very Noob, bringing you more Bravo gameplay on the Talishar client. Today we're playing against Katsu. Let's get right into it. I like to go Buckler Fist in a Katsu, and I sideboard out the Zealous Beltings, the Pummels, and the Sigils. The Pummels to me might be good. I think Chokeslam's a little better to turn off their pumps and their cards get pumped naturally through combo. And Pummel also loses a couple points to when you're playing the Fist. Saving 3 cards to make a Surge and then hammer for 8 with the Pummel is just not what you want to be doing. So we lose the die roll and we have to go first. Honestly, with a hand like this, I like to just throw the Rouse of the Ancients because they have a lot of 2 blocks, so we might actually end up leaking. We don't want to draw the Rouse later. I don't think we really want Rouse in Arsenal. That's not what we want to be saving our big hands to do. And as we see, he does have a 2 block. He overblocks this, which is a little interesting. I guess this way he'll only take 1 instead of 2, so it's probably correct because he's only going to take the 1 from the Titan Fist. We end up making a Surge because we don't want either of these cards in Arsenal. I know Crown is up, so we could have crowned away a bad card, but I don't really like to do that on turn 0. I don't want to be setting up my Crown to be used for that right off the bat. We draw a fairly poor hand here. Just kind of looking to block and maybe sink below a breakpoint, looking for a blue to hammer and Arsenal the Crippling Crush. Crippling Crush is definitely a card you want to be throwing at your Katsu opponent as often as possible. Sends 100 wins. And I end up just blocking 3 instead of using the sink below. Expecting more action after this. And surprisingly, he just passes, which leaves us in kind of a weird spot. All we can really do is make a Surge and then Arsenal the Crippling. Maybe our Arsenal the sink below? No, Arsenal Crippling here. Really unlucky for both of us. I'm not sure what 3 cards he could have behind that he's not looking to use them at all. Maybe it's 2 red Surgings and a Razor Reflex or something. Something particularly awful. We do see him play a red Surging from Arsenal, so he did have a red Surging that he probably couldn't play. Really unfortunate that we couldn't take advantage of that, though. 4 red hands really shouldn't happen too often anymore, especially with Starstruck. Not that a yellow would have helped us too much, but we would have at least been able to fist for 4. When they have a big hand, I'm usually inclined to let the Surging hit because they just have the follow-up often. But in this spot, maybe I shouldn't have let it hit because I didn't pressure him at all. Maybe he had a 5-card hand that he would have liked to block with. We see him get a little greedy with Breaking Scales. No, he did block with it already, didn't he? Yeah, he blocked with it on turn 0 against the Fist. I'm definitely trying to Crippling Crush off these 2 blues, so I'm just going to sink below this and take some damage with the follow-up. Notably, he's not on Breeze Rider boots, so he has even less armor than normal. I mean, he's already pretty much out of armor. He's playing Tunic over Heart and Crossstrap, so I guess that will be an armor at some point in the game, but he doesn't want to use that super early. And if he ends up having to use it super early, that's good for us in different ways. Take quite a bit of damage there. We take 10, but we get to throw a Crippling Crush, which should give us all the tempo, barring like a Fate Foreseen, or not Fate Foreseen, like a Sink Below or a Flick Flack and Arsenal for him. Even if he has that, we only have to deal with a 3-card Katsu hand, which isn't nearly as scary. He just takes 11. Also not a bad outcome for us. This hand's not too great. We can kind of block 6, pitch Rouse to Hammer, and Arsenal a Chokeslam. With only a 3-card hand and a Surging, I'm more inclined to block it because it's likely that the card behind isn't exactly what he needs. So yeah, this way we actually just get to dominate a Chokeslam. I'm not sure if dominating Chokeslam is correct here though. Just getting cards out of his hand is good, and having a Surge is good. So it's definitely possible I'm just supposed to make a Surge and send Chokeslam. The Chokeslam Crush effect can randomly be very good if they have like Ancestral Empowerment or Art of War, or the new Gust Wave, Descendant Gust Wave. Chokeslamming a Whelming Gust Wave is good too because it makes it easy to just block with a 3. But the Surges are pretty difficult to get when you're on Titan Fist because you don't ever want a 2-card Surge plus 4. And the Surges help you play stuff like this red Chokeslam in hand. So we draw almost an identical hand to last time. Slightly worse because it has an unmovable, and we can only block 5, then pitch the unmovable to Hammer, and then Arsenal Chokeslam. I just take both Kodachis here because we can exact block the 3rd attack and not be afraid of a pump due to the Chokeslam effect. We don't really have a hand worth saving either, so even if he wasn't under Chokeslam, I probably just take both Kodachis and look to block appropriately on Link 3. But it's extra safe with the Chokeslam effect because we're not afraid of anything pumping and going over and triggering Mask. Really don't want to let him trigger Mask at all. I would say most of my Katsu losses are due to them getting a Mask trigger. It's just worth so much. A random card is worth 3, but oftentimes the Mask trigger like lets them draw into a 0, that lets them Katsu, that lets them do even more. So it can be worth, I mean, upwards of 8. Which is just absolutely absurd. Please Enlighten Strike, draw a card, so we're definitely expecting Snapdragons, but we get to unmovable it, which is kind of nice. We don't have to draw unmovable later. When he passed reactions, maybe I should just let it hit, because then he can't snap it. That might have been an oversight. Oh wait, how did it? Oh, it had go again off the quicken from even bigger than that, of course. Miss Snatch. You gotta block it because he has Snapdragons up. He's probably gonna end up getting our whole hand here. Surging. That's pretty scary. I think we want to block this. Because if he can go get a Whelming Gust Wave off the Katsu trigger, it would be really bad for us. He ends up having an Ancestral Empowerment, but luckily we chokeslammed him last turn, so he can't do much with it. This turn could have been really bad if he didn't get chokeslammed. Because he could have Ancestral Empowermented, went over. High likelihood he draws a 0. He could Katsu to go get Whelming and just keep going. Maybe even Whelming, hit, draw a card that lets him then trigger Mask and just kind of blow this game open. Not too sure why he Ancestrals. Maybe he was afraid that since he showed it to us already, that if he arsenaled it, we would just play around it. But honestly, that would be very good for him if we just treated all of his attacks as having one more power. So he probably should have just arsenaled it. He draws into Whelming. Thanks to Chokeslam, it's only one. So we can just block it with our Crater Fist. His Ancestral play ended up being pretty good here. Getting another one of our armor. And we're already basically out of armor. We have 2 more blocks out of our shield and a crown. I don't mind Terra Sundering him if we're able to, but I'm probably just going to try to block with this hand as much as possible. Taking a bunch of damage to Terra Sunder for 5, I don't think it's going to be great. It's really hard for him to stop it. He'd have to give us his Mask, but it's also not worth taking a bunch of damage, I don't think. I'd rather just, with the life lead, I'd rather just start grinding him out with Titan's Fist. And wait for bigger spots to take damage to send like a Crippling or a Starstruck. Or a Spinal. Maybe Terra Sunder is just good enough here though. Because Katsu on a small hand is a lot weaker than Katsu on a big hand. Katsu and Viscerai are like 2 of the heroes that just get exponentially better. Yeah, we just give him 2 cards. This has Go Again from the Quicken. A little bit of an inefficient block, but we're looking to block with this hand anyway. I think I just take this 5 because sending 4 is better than blocking 3. He can't trigger Katsu or anything. And it's not like he's close to fatigue. With the life totals how they are, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fatigue him. With this hand, I'd really like to only be able to block with Fate so that I could make a Surge and Command and Conquer and then Arsenal the Spinal. But with him having a 4-card hand, we're probably going to be forced to block with more than just a Fate Foreseen. Let's see what he chooses for this Enlighten Strike. I'm guessing Go Again, but yeah, he chooses Go Again. You just go Buckler, Fate Foreseen. And with only one card behind, we might be able to keep the 3 cards we wanted to. With 1 floating and 1 card, unless he's running something like take the tempo, or like, yeah, it's like a 1 for 5. He's only really threatening 4 here. I make the discipline play though. I just block 6. Looking to Fate Foreseen a 0 for 4, or Hammer 4 and Arsenal to Fate Foreseen. Not sure I really agree with that. It saves some armor though, which might be good. I think both lines are actually fine. And I was afraid he would just play his last card so the Command and Conquer wouldn't have the on-hit value. It would just be like 2 more damage than the fist. Hundred wins, just block 3. His last card was Ancestral Empowerment, so it would have been pretty good to just Buckler and Fate last turn, but you can't know what his last card is. You can't Ancestral an E-Strike because it's not a ninja attack, so it would have worked out well for us. That might be a decision worth exploring more and thinking about harder. Goes and gets Descendant Gust Wave, so he must have a Bonds in hand. So this turn might go a little crazy for him. Even has the Tunic counter up to Tunic Gust Wave. I feel like I could just take this 3 since he can't trigger Katsu. Maybe it's better to block it just to like turn off Mask, but if we're expecting the Bonds afterwards, we have the Fate Foreseen to cover that up. I do just end up blocking. The Ancestral Empowerments, which means our block I think was pretty good, because if we would have just Fate Foreseen the follow-up Bonds, we would have gotten him a Mask trigger. As it stands here, he's only keeping Mask alive and drawing a card off the Ancestral. I'm not sure if that Ancestral Empowerment was incredibly well used by him, but maybe he thinks the 4 breakpoint's going to be like really hard. He wants to eat through our armor, like really hard for us to stop. Tutors up a Spinning Wheel Kick, so that must mean he has a blue in hand that he wants to Karachi Wheel Kick into whatever it is he has. We bottom the blue Chokeslam, of course. We're just looking for any sort of threat or defense react. Something better than a blue. We have so many blues in our deck, like we want to draw them, but always digging deeper to something a little better. So yeah, he has the blue, so he's going Kadachi into Wheel Kick, and because we have Fate Foreseen, we can just take these Kadachis. Bottom the Showtime because of all the stuff I just said before, just looking for something better. And all in all, we mitigated quite a bit of that damage, and we get to send back 4. He can just keep taking 4 and like blasting us with 5-card hands, but that's not going to last forever. He's losing more life than us on a turn-by-turn basis. I think maybe last turn we both lost 4. I think I was at 20 or 19 or something. Maybe he won by 1. Maybe I was at 21. I forget. The more threats he goes through, though, the less threats he's going to have. And we are always going to have our threat of 1-card 4. We're up a significant amount of cards. He has 24 in deck. We have 37. I don't think we have enough life to like fatigue, but we might run him out of ideal threats for him to tutor for. He's already bonds twice, so unless he runs yellow bonds, he can only do that one more time. Our hand here is fairly simple. We just try to block and keep a blue. Not sure why I blocked this. I feel like I should have just let this one hit, because the likelihood of gust wave is pretty high. Maybe we just think we're protected from whelming gust wave with the sink below, which is certainly reasonable. Blue whelming, yeah, we still gotta block it for 3. Can't let him draw a card. Ooh, he razors and we have the sink for it. That's very good for us. I definitely got a sink below here. He has nothing after this, so then we get to just hammer for 4. We just get to stymie his turn. Very well-timed D-react from our deck. Got a little lucky there. And even if he takes 4, he doesn't have a 5-card hand here, only a 4-card hand. So we're definitely on just the block and fist plan. Being up 10 life, 5 to 15. If we were up 10 life, like 30 to 40, sure, he has enough life to play with. But 5 to 15, he just don't know why he Warmonger Diplomacy here. I mean, his hand must just be like react. I almost think Kodachi is better than Warmongering us here. But lucky for us, we get to just throw a Spinal Crush. Yeah, again, not too sure why you would Warmonger's Diplomacy Bravo. If you have like 1 card and you're at like 7 and you're gonna leave the Bravo with 4 cards, it's like maybe so they can't dominate a Starstruck or a Crippling Crush. But with only 3 cards and no Surge, I can't dominate anything that good. I could dominate like a red Chokeslam, but he could just give me like Mask and not die. Not only not die, but stop the Crush effect. So that seemed like a really lucky break from us. Just looking to take damage and dominate Starstruck for the win. I don't think he can deal 15 or even 16 because we have the Buckler. I block. I think that's a bad block. I don't think I'm supposed to block at all here. Maybe I feel like it's just safe because I can throw Cranial Crush and he's got to give me 3 cards or Mask anyway, but I could have taken 4 there, been at 9. He doesn't have an action point to use all the cards and just actually end the game this turn, so that seems like a pretty big leak. Doing these videos it's become quite aware that one of my biggest weaknesses is the end game and trading damage, and maybe I'm just a little too safe. Like I want to protect my life total, but when you literally can just kill your opponent, that's the better line. I normally say something's the better line 9 times out of 10, but killing your opponent is the better line 10 times out of 10. Maybe I play a little scared, and in my mind I'm like, I want to play around like a random red unmovable in Arsenal or something, but there's just no way he has that. There's no indication that he would ever have that. He could have like Flick Flack in hand, Flick Flack in Arsenal, and then block with Mask of Momentum, but he would have to have that, and we would still be in a very good spot. We would just have 9 life, and him be at 2 with no mask. So yeah, I gotta work on my end games. Here, of course, just throw a Naked Crippling. It requires all cards. It might even require some armor if he doesn't have enough 3 blocks in hand. I think he needs 3 blocks and a 2 block to cover up 11, if I'm doing my math right. If he has multiple 2 blocks, he's got to give us Mask or Tunic or some combination. And he just scoops. So that's the game. I think we caught quite a few lucky breaks there. Our first hand, where he just attacked us and passed, and we had 4 reds in hand, was pretty unfortunate, but the rest of that game was quite fortunate. There was one turn where we had 2 Fate Foreseens, and they both ended up being very good in stopping breakpoints. There was the other turn where he tried to Razor Reflex the Whelming Gust Wave that was turned on, and we had the defense react there as well. Normally this is a very close matchup. I'm normally not winning with like 13 life unless I'm absolutely rolling them. In that game, I don't feel like I was absolutely rolling them. I think they just sort of had badly timed aggression with our defense reacts, and we ended up taking it down. Well, thanks for joining me. It's always fun bringing these videos to you guys. I'll try to bring them every day, Monday through Friday, until I can't anymore, due to whatever. So hopefully you guys keep tuning in. Leave comments down below. Hopefully we all learned a little something today. I think I learned quite a bit. And until next time.